Since I was a child, I was always terrified of being alone. In the early 90s, my parents bought an old large house with 3 floors and many rooms. Me getting scared of being alone was rarely a problem though, as my father worked nights and was home during the day. I also shared a bedroom with my older brother, so even at bedtime and through the night I wasn't alone. But on weekend nights my family would gather around the TV on the 3rd floor. We would eat slices of loaf with shrimp that we had to peel the scales off of. Sometimes someone would forget to bring something, be it napkins or a drink, and I would get sent downstairs to the ground floor, where the kitchen was, to get it. I was always restless, and usually volunteered to do anything, which my mother loved, as my older brother had been quite difficult to handle. He was sometimes difficult for me to handle as well, teasing me whenever I said I was scared of being alone, or scared of the dark. Still, I looked up to him, and in trying to not seem like such a wimpy kid brother anymore, I kept whatever fears I had to myself, saying that I would go downstairs and get whatever they had forgotten to bring. In spite of being an old house, it was quite decent, with a lot of work done. Only a couple of the rooms were still in their old form. Otherwise, the interiors were typical of the 90s. From the upstairs TV room, I had to go down a long hallway, then down 2 separate stairs, then through another hallway, before ending up in the living room, where the door to the kitchen was. I would always think I could just force my brain to think about playing Super Mario Bros. 2 and I wouldn't get scared. But on these weekend family evenings, it was usually dark outside. As I crossed the first hallway, I turned and looked back at the TV room where my family was. The TV was faced my way, making my family face away from me. I tried not to think about it. The second I went down the first set of stairs, and the sound of the TV started to fade in the distance, images of big white faces would appear in my mind. They were bigger than a normal person's, and they just suddenly appeared in my imagination. The uneasiness and fear coming from thinking about them made the back of my neck tingle. Reaching ground level, I could see into the living room. On the wall on the opposite side of the room, facing me, there was a door to the veranda. It had glass panels that covered most of it. I had to walk towards it, before turning right inside the living room, in order to get to the kitchen. The veranda door was an easy place to get to from outside, to look inside from, so I quickly glanced up at it as I walked towards it, before looking down again. There was only the utter darkness of outside showing through the glass. I couldn't allow myself to think phew, there wasn't a face, because that would mean that I admitted to actually thinking there might have been one. So I just kept looking down, and walked hastily towards the living room, before taking a right into the kitchen. I quickly got what I needed, while I struggled to maintain the image of brightly colored Super Mario landscapes in my mind's eye, and I started walking back. Of course, running would only escalate the fear, and maybe activate whatever was hiding outside our house, or inside, around corners where I couldn't see. Right past where the stairs leading back up started, there was a corner on my left which led to the front door. I would always imagine a large white face or hand slowly starting to emerge around that corner. I took the 3 first steps of the stairs in one stride, feeling pain in my inner thigh as this was quite the reach for my small legs. But I needed to get up as quickly as possible without starting to run. And that corner where the stairs began freaked me out more than other corners. Luckily, our stairs had panels under the steps, so there was nothing that could grab my feet as I went up. In the hallway on the middle floor, before the last stairs, there were 4 rooms that usually had open doors. Sometimes the lights would be turned off inside. Sometimes a door would be only slightly cracked open, and I would imagine seeing half of a face looking at me from inside the dark room. I would always think of the faces appearing at a height slightly above my own for some reason. I looked down at the floor again, and moved quickly past the doors to the final set of stairs. All the while, it felt like the tingles on my neck started to move down to my back. I tried not to think of large white hands reaching at me from behind. Having gotten to the upper floor, I can see the entrance to the TV room across the final hallway. The door is almost fully open, and my family is waiting. I can see the back of their heads. Despite being almost double in length compared to the previous hallway, there are only 2 doors. One on the left close to the stairs, and one on the right further ahead, close to the TV room. Both are closed shut. Now I can finally run, so I go into a full sprint. Pictures hanging on the walls start to race past me as I rush towards the room where my family awaits. Then, straight ahead, the door to the TV room slowly starts to close. Instantly, without even considering why it's closing, I scream with everything I have for my mom. I don't stop running. I can only see my brother now inside the room as the door closes. With socks on a carpeted floor, I run faster than ever before, and I'm ready to literally throw myself into the room. My panic reaches new heights as I realize no one is answering me. Only a few meters more, just one more door to pass. In the last few steps, seconds seem like minutes. Just as I'm about to pass the final door on the right, it suddenly opens slightly, just a crack, and there is something pressed up against the opening looking at me.